With the presidential election just over a year away, there are calls for competent leaders who can tackle the country's numerous challenges head-on. My next guest today is Dr. Anietie Ukpong, the national leader of the Change Nigeria group. He's also a former governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State. He's calling for an overhaul of the political and social system here in Nigeria. He says a stable economy is the remedy for insecurity and unemployment. He's also calling for a modification of Nigeria's health and education system. Well, I have Dr. Anietie Ukpong right here with me. It's so good to have you and then see that you're actually focusing on something that's way different from, the agitations we have around calls for zoning here and there and all of that. What's the driving force behind this new narrative that you want for Nigerians to actually embrace?
Thank you.
The narrative of having a nation first before we start competing, for the political space.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate appearing on Arise TV. You guys are very prominent all over the world. In a society, for it to function, communication, understanding of each other is very important. If you look at India, one of the largest democracies, they have is a polyglottic society, but every Indian understands each other, whether you are from North or you're from Chennai. You get my point? There's a national language called Hindi that everybody understands, so that if a northern in India is speaking, the southern India will understand, and vice versa. But so in a democratic dispensation, everybody must understand each other, regardless of the dialects.
Yeah, hewing towards a national value.
Exactly. In Nigeria, in Sokoto, as I'm speaking right now, somebody in Sokoto is not hearing me. Somebody in Zamfara is not hearing me. So how do we make sure that we understand each other? And we do. And when once me and you don't understand each other, guess what? You suspect me that I'm rooting against you.
So there's mutual suspicion.
There is mutual suspicion. And that is the core. So I believe that the National Assembly should urgently set up a committee for a national language committee to craft a new language, not Hausa, not Igbo, not Ibibio, not Yoruba. We should craft a national language, something like the Chinese. It may not have to be English lingo, but it could be stylistic, it could be artistic, but we need to craft something for the future.
Well, don't you think we already have one with the pidgin English that we do at the moment? Because that's the only one that actually unites us different from...
I know, it's still Western bent. It's still Western bent, and in this country, we are still... There are areas that we still don't... We want to move away from that. But we want something that is very organically and indigenous. If you look at all the countries, again, I'm just jumping on this. The Koreans, they have indigenous. The Chinese, they have their indigenous. The Ethiopians, for sure, they have their indigenous. The Russians, the Jews, everybody has indigenous. We in sub-Saharan Africa, we are the only ones without indigenous. So that's one thing. The next one is employment. We've been talking about employment since we gained independence. Why things are not working is because the British style of education. The British style of education does not encourage innovation.
Well, don't you think that population growth is actually one of the major causes of that? Because we've had a population explosion.
Population explosion is part of it, but you can counter that population explosion with a strategy. We don't seem to have a strategy.
What kind of strategy
the strategy
is it that we don't have it, or we don't implement?
We don't have the strategy.
I mean, because we've had several visions.
The strategy that we have now is a dumping ground. Nigeria is a dumping ground of foreign goods. Ivory Coast is a dumping ground for French goods. In other words, you can't buy and sell yourself out of poverty. You have to think about manufacturing. For a developing country like Nigeria, the next democratic dispensation that we are going into, we don't need lawyers to be president. We don't need farmers to be president. We don't need politicians. You need engineers. Because the reason I'm saying this is if you look at Korea, if you look at India, for developing nation, you need people that are trained to think analytically, to think about problem solution, manufacturing. You get my point, brother?
But we have also got people who have been mechanical engineers.
We've never.
I mean, in different states. I mean, you've got state governors and all of that. So
for the leadership,
is it linked? I mean, there's no correlation between being a mechanical engineer with producing the democratic dividends that everyone wants.
Absolutely.
Irrespective of any profession.
Absolutely, there is. Let me tell you why there is. When you have an engineer in charge, engineers are trained to solve problems. We see a problem, like right now. Do you know how many unemployed people or graduates do you have in Nigeria?
Well, the National Bureau of Statistics has those figures.
Those figures should be readily available, but
they are. Maybe you are not aware.
I am aware of it, but what I'm saying is that if you want to solve a problem, you've got to identify what is the problem.
And you think having a mechanical engineer as president is one of the easiest or fastest way to develop in
exactly.
Nigeria?
For a developing country, really, for a mechanic, you need a auto mechanic. For a pilot, you need a pilot to fly an airplane. You get my point? For a developing country that is developing, you need people that are trained in analytical thinking and problem solution. But let me come down to this point. All the things that we consume on a daily basis, we must start to demand 10% production. One, like for instance, detergent that we use in washing our clothing. We should demand that Liver Brothers should put 10% local sourcing in Sokoto.
Well, there have been those local content laws that have been developed. How do we...
I didn't finish my statement, but go ahead.
Just go ahead.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
In other words, if you look at everything that we consume, particularly the generator, that I see Nigerians are using generators everywhere, we must demand that each of these companies give us 5-10% in each of the states of the federation. Pockets of
5-10% of what?
Of production, of local sourcing. Because that 5% will hire 50 people. That 50 people is a lot for the local economy. You get my point? We cannot keep on doing the same thing over and over. It's insanity. I mean, look at our graduates are driving. They are driving taxis. They are struggling. The economy, we have to copy what is working in other countries.
Okay, now let's take a look at some of the Asian societies you have pointed out here, the Koreans, the Chinese, and all of that. There's a national value system that actually goes with what you are talking about.
Correct.
A national value system before the production system that goes along with it. What do you think is the problem with our value orientation in Nigeria? I
think the value system is that we got our independence without really being fully matured. You know, we put on suits and we put on clothing and we think we know it all, but there is something lacking, which means we lack empathy. You know, how can I be having electricity in my house and I'm enjoying Arsenal playing at Liverpool, and my neighbor, there's no light in next door? You don't have empathy. Once you feel that your brother is struggling, that is value. That is human value. And it goes on in the United States, in England. You know, that's why they provide a common platform that everybody, if you work, you're going to do well. So it starts with jobs.
So how do we have that national value system that will actually help to drive our productive capacity, to drive our economic capacity and all of that?
Caring. It starts with caring. Once you change, let's go back to educational system. We must revamp the educational system because hope is very important. You know, we go on church services every morning, every Sunday. People, they buy hope. They go there to buy hope, to be told hope. Because if you are hopeful for something, if you are in the final year in your university, you're about to enter the world, and there is no hope that you're going to get a job, how can you have value attached to it? You don't know, you're not going to care about. But if you are hopeful for something, you can, when you see somebody and you know that next month you're going to have money coming in, you can dash somebody some money. You value your existentials around you because you are hopeful of something. But once you don't have hope, it's a tremendous despair.
Yeah, I mean, so let's get back to the idea of you saying that we need to understand how we can work with people who are mechanical engineers. I think you were talking about, revamping our STEM system. That's the science, technology, and all of that.
That's exactly.
Educational system. How do we ensure that people, are well prepared to get into the society, are well educated, and when they get into the society also prepares the appropriate grounds for them to be able to find meaningful jobs.
Totally agree with you on that. It takes leadership. Leadership in the sense that I'm going to come back to touch the church and the media, the religious institution and the communications institution. It's very, very important, but I'll come back to that. But let me segue into what you are just asking me. The Germans, the Chinese, the Japanese, not everybody is going to get a bachelor's degree. Even before you get your bachelor's degree, before they give you a bachelor's degree, you must be skilled in something.
Technical education.
Technical education must be balanced up with the paperwork, with your BSc paperwork. So our National Assembly or the institution of government has to refine the education system so that even in high school, before you finish high school, you should be skilled at doing something, no matter how small.
And what would you suggest as a means of revamping the technical education in Nigeria?
I suggest that we change the paradigm. We are still bent on, if I want to go there, let me go there. You don't see us talking about our heroes. Who are our heroes? Who are our industrialists? Who are, our people should be taught that rather than teaching about Jericho, the Bible teaching about Jericho, or the Bible teaching about the Jews, we should be teaching about Kano.
You think that is also affecting the young people across the nation?
Absolutely.
That's why we have the rich quick syndrome, and a lot of people want to do, all these cyber crimes and all of that.
Yes, we should talk about our heroes. Those of the Aba Women Riot. We should tell our women, look at what the Aba Women Riot were able to accomplish. Why are we reading Jericho when we should be reading about Kano?
I mean, that's part of the religious system that we have.
I know, but I'm saying we need to start teaching our people about the German system of education, because they emphasize more on skills trade, on apprenticeship. Like the Igbos are doing that now in the East, where somebody will go into apprenticeship and will learn 2-3 years and then qualify, and they help him set up something on his own. We are not going to be employed by the government, or the jobs are not there. So we have to look for a way of starting first on apprenticeship, owning our own stuff. Then once we create our own corporation, then our people, our children coming in future generations will have something to do.
Now, you call yourself Change Nigeria Party or group and all of that. As we head to the 2023 general elections, what exactly should be the national message that should go out on nationhood, preserving the nation and all of that ahead of the 2023 polls?
The word that should get, every politician in this country should sign a contract with Nigerians. In the United States, Newt Gingrich one time signed a contract with America. Every politician should sign a contract that says, I will create so and so job in Akwa Ibom. I will create so and so job in Sokoto. And then look to creating those jobs. Jobs should be the number one word. Job and insurance, health insurance, because Nigerians are dying silly because they don't have access to health care. So jobs, creation, and insurance, everybody that works, even if you're a petty trader, you should be able to put 5 naira in your account every month towards your health savings.
So you are saying that they should sign, a social contract.
A social contract.
If you're signing a social contract, what will you say about the campaign manifestos? Isn't that the same level?
No, it's not as important. It's not as intense as actually standing there and say, we, the All Progressive Alliance, All Progressive Congress, we are understand that we will create 1 million new jobs.
Well, the economy to actually use in financing that 1 million jobs may not just be easy, because we primarily trade in commodities and the price fluctuations continue.
Nothing is easy.
So how will you get politicians to agree to that?
They have to, if they care about
it. Isn't it committing a political suicide?
No, it's not. Because when you set a target, let's say you set a target of 1 million, you can get 200,000. That's still an accomplishment. But let me segue back to religion and communication.
Very quickly,
If you have a society where the media, the journalists are compromised, or the pastors and the imams are compromised, there is no hope for the poor man. There is no hope. These are the two institutions that should be sacrosanct.
All right,
let's continue.
Just hold your thoughts there. We'll
Thank
have
you.
to go on the break now. You're still watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Sumner Sambo, and I've been talking with Dr. Anietie Ukpong, who is the national leader of the Change Nigeria group. He's also a former governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State. He's been vocal on ways to change Nigeria, including transforming the economy and healthcare and tackling insecurity. And I come back to you on the critical issues of value reorientation. A lot of people have said that we need to start from the restructuring of the mind before we come to physical restructuring and all, governance restructuring and all of that. As we head to the polls, young people will play a critical role as to who will be elected Nigeria's next president. And this is a transitional presidency that we have, a succession presidency. What is the driving force that you think we should have at the back of our minds while we elect our new leader in 2023?
I think it's going to have to be about skills acquisition and empowerment, incentivization. In other words, if the government can come up, if the politicians can say, we're going to incentivize you. If you are producing, making furniture, we're going to give you a little incentive if you hire 10 people. In other words, incentivization of private enterprises. Young people will then begin to think, okay, if I do something very small, the government can give me a little incentive and I can grow.
Isn't this government already doing that?
I don't
think.
I
know there are some of those programs that they have, Jeep and all of that, where they provide little incentives.
They are doing.
To those who actually, if you can have like 5 workers, they'll help you to actually pay the salaries of 5 more workers and all of that.
They are, exactly, you're right, they are doing, but they are not doing enough. It has to be a very blanket stuff. And then let's go back to values. We gotta go back to the basic tenet of Christianity and Islam. The basic tenet of these two religions that we practice in Nigeria are for family, orientation, and empathy. You get my point?
So how do we relate that to the 2023 election?
That comes
as young people form the huge quantum of those who will be going to the polls to elect, what's it called, their next leaders.
Young people would have to look at a politicians that values them. I mean, they're going to give you money, but look at what their background, what they've produced in the past, what they've done. Have they kept their promises? They're going to come down with some 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira that will finish tomorrow. You get my point? Don't seek to collect the money to buy bread. Seek for a loaf factory. How do you call it? Seek for a factory that will make loaf. If anybody offers you money to make anything or to buy anything, you ask him, no, I want to produce. So this, we gotta start demanding from our leaders. Our leaders are our gateway to prosperity. But I think the best one is this area of having church instilling values every Sunday to the parents. The parents will then transfer it to the children, and knowing that empathy matters.
So in terms of value reorientation, what do you think the role of the National Orientation Agency is in terms of helping to drive the narrative of nationhood, especially in terms of insecurity that we have right now? What's the right values, especially when it has to do with supporting our troops to be able to defeat insecurity and all of that?
I think it should all goes back to the national anthem, to our heroes past. We don't talk a lot about our heroes past, like Tunde Idiagbon, Tafawa Balewa. We don't talk a lot about our people that are Nnamdi Azikiwe. We don't talk about people that were patriotic. They were going to die to make sure that we get our independence. Our forefathers are rolling in the grave to see us sort of lost all modicum of empathy.
Isn't that the failure of the National Orientation
It is
Agency?
Absolutely the failure of a national orientation. We should bring programs like war for empathy, war against indiscipline, so that you orientate the society and make a society such that if they see you peeing on the street, they see you speeding on the street, there's a certain penalty. But it has to come back with carry a big stick, with how do they say it? Carry a big stick, and then
using the carrot and stick.
Exactly. You have to carry the big stick and give carrots.
And let's talk about the issue of young people wanting to get rich very quickly. You've seen lots of ritual killings. I mean, young boys and girls killing their girlfriends. Some young ladies also taking their boyfriends for rituals and all of that. What do you make of that? Why is there this huge drive among young people to want to go to that extent? I think of killing their friends.
I think it's a total moral breakdown of the society. But it should start from leadership. Leadership is very important. You know, being at the podium, the president should be addressing the country every week, at least once a week, addressing the media, addressing a press conference, the governors, the same thing.
Where will he have the time to work if he's doing that weekly?
No, once a week is not bad. What about the traditional rulers? See, everything starts from the grassroots. How many traditional rulers in this country have addressed the community?
So you think the president is not communicating more with Nigerians?
Correct. And the traditional rulers who are right there with the people, they are not talking to the people. Even this insecurity, the traditional rulers in the area, they know who the insecurities are.
Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, the focus on get-rich-quick syndrome is so much high in the society today, especially among young ones. And that's what I really wanted you to address. The issue of ritual killings, I mean, is just so much on the rise.
Let me address the issue of quick reach. I think there's nothing like quick reach. Where do you teach this? Maybe the parents, maybe the school, maybe the churches. There's nothing like quick reach. You have to work for everything. But the reason there is quick reach is that there are no opportunities. Everybody wants you. You want to grab as much as you can, steal as much as you can, maim as much as you can to get there, because there are plethora of no opportunities. So we need to have, like I was saying, manufacturing companies in all 36, in all the states of the Federation for what we consume on a daily basis.
So in other words, it's an economic problem that we have, not political and governance.
Absolutely, problem. It's an economic problem.
You think that if our economic booms, most of these vices will easily go away?
Absolutely, it will. Because look at Sokoto. I go back to Sokoto because we in the South, we don't empathize with the Northerners. We don't hear the Northerners. The Northerners are crying out. Look at Lagos. Everything concentrates in Lagos. The IGR in Lagos is so high. My best friends are Yorubas. But the IGR in Lagos is so high in Lagos State.
Well, isn't it because other states are not improving on their economic activities?
No, it's not. It's because of since we got independence, everything has been centralized in Lagos. We need to discretize. We need to take some liver brothers.
Isn't that the reason why we have the federal capital being moved to Abuja?
Hopefully that will work. It's not working. Lagos. It's not working. But what I'm saying is we need to discretize Lagos, because you could see this balance. It's like this. Sokoto, Maiduguri, Kano, Kaduna is all dry land. There is no factory.
Yeah, and people will relate it to governance and security issues.
Exactly.
Poor governance. But you are saying that it's more economic.
More economic. If you take an assembly company to Sokoto, everybody will want to work there. Where will there be a time for crime, for thinking insecurity?
Yeah, but I'm surprised you're not even mentioning the governors. What role do the state governors actually have?
The governors plays a major role. The governors again have to be empathetic.
Because you wanted to be a governor yourself.
I wanted to change Akwa Ibom. I got to Akwa Ibom and Udumima. They are doing well, but I wanted to change. But what I'm saying is, the governors have to listen to the people through the traditional rulers, the councils, everything. It starts from the village council. You know, because you have to filter through. Even all the guys committing crime, the village council knows them. You get my point? Bring those guys, filter it all the way through, and close the loop.
So as we try to round off this conversation, have you ever thought of, you know, after having failed for governorship, maybe think of becoming the president due to the not to run act that was actually signed by President Buhari, which gives young people like you opportunity to actually aspire for any position?
Well, I mean, it is my hope that in 2020, the next presidential election, a dynamic engineer will assume the
And you're still emphasizing on having as an engineer as president.
I still do.
We had one former President Olusegun Obasanjo as president, both military head of state and president.
Well, we should have another one, preferably trained in abroad, because you know things are different, my brother. I'm telling you
very quickly.
Those of us, we know this thing. The solution to Nigeria's problem is 1 + 1 = 2. But we try to make
it's that simple?
It's that simple, but we try to make it a thesis.
All right, Anietie Ukpong, Convener of the Change Nigeria Group, we must thank you for joining us on the Arise interview to take a critical look at national issues, value reorientation, and economic growth. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching.